All right, students, I want to give you a little bit of some real-life tips concerning this topic of identifying important information. At the beginning of Chapter 12, I will be talking specifically about how do we use our Concordia University lesson plan template. How does that all work? At this point, I want to give you a couple thoughts that are important to remember with this topic, again, of identifying important information. And keeping in mind, students stink at identifying this information. So when we're writing a lesson plan, what do we need to do? Number one, when you're going to write your lesson plan, you want to evaluate the content and ask the question, what do I really want students to remember in this lesson? That is your objectives. You write them out, then you will also continue to write the lesson plan. And here's the key. When you're done writing the lesson plan, I want you to go back and look at your objectives and look at the lesson plan and say, does my lesson do this? I have many times I see a student that has the clear objectives, but then one or two of the objectives aren't even addressed during the lesson. So before the lesson, and then again after the lesson plan has been written, check to make sure you are really identifying the items that you want students to remember. Second, if you happen to be using a lecture strategy, perhaps even Cornell note-taking method strategy as part of your lesson, you want to have several things. You want to have a visual presentation, typically a PowerPoint, but they also need a note-taking guide. This guide has to be very well organized for them so they can make sense of it and know what's important, as well as they can't be writing a ton of information down. Think back to the amount of attention in our sensory register. They can only focus for a brief period of time. If you're going to be talking and they have to write a whole bunch of things down, it's not going to happen. But if they only have to write down a few words in a well-organized handout, guide, they can do that. So that's going to be important. And with that, you need to, in your PowerPoint or your visual presentation, make sure that those items that are important to remember are highlighted, underlined, or otherwise identified, so as you're going through your lecture, you will be cued and they will be cued as to, oh, okay, this is important, I need to remember this. The third thing, if you're using a lecture strategy or discussion strategy or any other type of pedagogy lesson, you need to continually be saying to children during the lesson, hey, this is important. Students, you need to remember this. You need to be that intentional in cueing them. Remember, they don't know how to identify it. So your verbal cues, along with any highlighted, underlined markings, etc., are very important. Too often, again, I see lessons and students that are teaching and going through all this content and never verbally cueing them. This is important. You need to remember this. You'd be amazed at when you say that, how quickly they will underline or star or mark so that they know, okay, this is important. And finally, this is somewhat related to the topic. If you are going to ask students to do something, like an assignment, or giving them directions, know that if it's more than one step, they're going to forget. If it's an assignment which requires a couple different compartments, 3 different tasks, they need to see it, you need to orally tell them, and they need to have one or two things happen. Either you need to watch them writing down the complete assignment so that they visually have it, or you need to give them a handout of paper with the assignment on there. Again, I know this sounds crazy, but you'd be amazed how many student teachers will tell me the assignment had 2 steps to it and they only did the first one. I can't believe how much cueing I have to give them. I have to write out the assignments. So I'm just telling you that right now. That's the way students work, their minds work. Giving them an assignment that's more than 1 step, make sure orally, visually, and written that they have it so that you get what you want.